AI to Go podcast.
Okay, welcome everybody to a new episode of the AI to Go podcast. Today's guest is Carles Reina, seasoned startup builder, investor, and someone who's behind the scenes of some of the most exciting tech companies of this decade. Carles built an amazing career working at leading companies like Uber's early Europe team, Sonantic before it got acquired by Spotify, and JobandTalent, one of Spain's top tech success stories. Today, he's leading go-to-market at ElevenLabs, which is one of the fastest growing companies in voice AI. He's also a passionate angel investor with over 60 investments in deep tech and frontier technologies. And if that wasn't enough, Carles is also into exotic plants. He's growing baobabs and even sequoias in his homes in London and Barcelona. We're really excited to hear his insights on AI, building and growing companies, investing in breakthrough ideas, and of course, we'll get to know the person behind it all. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any conversation. Let's start. Welcome, Carles.
Thank you so much, Johannes, for inviting me.
And Carles, really talking about this passion for exotic plants, where does your passion come from?
I don't know, my parents have a house outside the Barcelona. I grew up in Barcelona, lived in there for 20 years before I moved to London. And they have a house outside the Barcelona and the mountains and all that stuff. And then my mom has always been very passionate about plants. So our house in there is fundamentally like a mini forest. Like she her plants had become huge over the years. So she talks to the plants, like she spends time with the plants, looks at them, all of that stuff. And I kind of I enjoy it a lot. Like I think that comes from that passion of seeing her and also interacting with all the plants all the time. And when my wife and I moved to London, back 16 years ago, we had a small place. We didn't have a space for plants. And then as soon as we managed to actually get a bigger space, then the only thing that I cared about was plants. So we don't even have TVs or anything like that. We bought a table TV for the TV. And I was like, no, we're not going to put a TV. We're not going to use it. We should just fill it with plants. And that's actually one thing triggered the other one and the other one. And then I bought some seeds for baobabs and sequoias and all that stuff. And then we started growing them in London and then in Barcelona as well, right? So it's become a thing.
Interesting. You are also the founder of Baobab Ventures Syndicate. You could also explain about the connection here with the plant. This is a venture studio and accelerator that is focused on the African continent and African startups. Why did you decide?
Actually, we focus on global companies. So we do global companies based. Baobab is fundamental because I love baobabs and everything. So I've been running this syndicate for my friends for years now. So I started investing myself, and then some of my friends were like, "Oh, I also want to invest in that company. Well, why didn't you tell me?" Yeah, fine, I'll put together a syndicate. And one thing triggered the other one and the other one. We've done a very large number of companies together, and from Happy Robot in the US, where we did pre-seed, all the way to we've been doing a bunch of robotic companies recently and all of that stuff. So it's more about helping the community, helping the entire startup ecosystem grow. And all of them that actually are participating in the syndicate are operators. So people that come from the background of building companies, knowing the struggle and knowing what works, what doesn't work. So at any point in time, they can connect with the founders and help them if needed. And we don't for anything. We only want allocation for the round, and then you have employees that are not even your employees that you don't have to worry about paying them a salary.
Very cool. And actually, so you seem to be very passionate in general about startups, investment, and so on. Although your background is not necessarily in business or entrepreneurship, right? So we saw that you study international relations. That makes it the two of us. But I'm curious, was it really by design or it kind of just happened that you entering this entrepreneurial world?
It kind of just happened. So I left, I did uni in London. So I did actually advertising in Barcelona. I did it in Spain is like 4 years total. So in the first 2 years, I got super bored. That was way too easy. And then I was like, you know what? It's time for a change, do something else and start from scratch. So I went to London, started from scratch, did international relations. And then I realized like that is not for me. Like, great, I learned a lot. Everything is fantastic, but it's just not the type of life that I want. So what was the easiest one? Like, let's go to banking. And I also realized like while I learned a lot and it was like a really, really good learning experience, I wanted to iterate, to test things, test ideas, make mistakes. That was like me. And so I started like looking for startups and all of that ecosystem. And that's when I ended up like working for Uber back in the early days. But I don't know, like kind of things that ended up falling in the right place at the right time. Right? It's like not that some people, like I've met a lot of people in my life that like, especially founders, like have always had this idea, like I want to build a company, I want to be a founder, I want to do this. I did not have those ideas. So it's like I kind of like one thing led to the other one and then led to the other one and the other one. And we are here.
That's great. Yeah, I think having this fixed plan in mind does not work in today's dynamic work environment anymore, right? You mentioned you worked in the Uber's early days in Europe. Now, Uber's logistics team is known for their intensity and innovation, pretty much like the whole company. What was the most surprising aspect of the work culture there, and how did it shape you and your leadership style?
I think like Uber was a fantastic school, just because like it was everything needed to be built from scratch, right? And like we did good things, we did bad things, we did like we did a lot of stuff. Like everything is in the press, right? So like it's just a matter of like digging through the archives. But the reality is like we learned that like you can be building a company that grows like extremely quickly and disrupting the market and doing it even if a lot of people keep telling you no, right? Regulators saying no, like, I don't know, like taxi drivers saying no, like, so there's like a lot of numbers of challenges, like very heavy at that point in time. And for me, the number one learning of all of it was you should not accept a no, right? Like if you have an idea, if you believe that there is a market for that, and if you're not breaking the law fundamentally, right, then just do it. It doesn't really matter. And that's always what I say to founders at the end. It's like, you need to believe in your idea the most than anyone, right? Like, it's okay if investors are not going to believe in it. Maybe they're right, but most of the time they're wrong. So it's just a matter of like pushing. It's like that energy, that passion that you only have, that also you need to find a way to convince other people about that passion and that energy. But still, it's okay if it takes you a long time to actually get the yes.
Very nice. And talking a little bit more about your investment hat, right? Really as an angel investor. Besides ElevenLabs, what are the other top 3 investments that are you most excited about right now? And also, what makes you confident about their potential?
So there's one, for instance, in a company called Tecker, based in Barcelona. They're doing industrial robotics together with LLMs, mega smart founders. And they've been doing super well. So they're like really, really good. They're working with like some of the biggest retailers in the world and distributors and logistics companies. What it made me realize them, and I've done a bunch of other like like robotics companies, that like the robotics space has evolved a lot, or is evolving very quickly, right? If like the problem was the hardware back a year ago, like hardware is getting commoditized. So now you can see all of these companies that actually like merging LLMs prompts together with software, but like the sales cycle is starting to resemble more of a SaaS company, over like a software development company, than actually like a robotics company, right? So, and this is like really good, because then I think you start building a lot of momentum and a lot of like ecosystem growth, and a lot more money from the venture capitalist scene will be coming here. And that's why like a lot of like investors founders up until recently have been staying away from the robotics space just because it was like very long cycles, like extremely difficult problems to solve. And those things haven't actually like changed. Like the problems are extremely difficult today, but who's going to be building the warehouse that we need tomorrow? Who's going to be building the new manufacturing for defense tech that like Europe is pushing for instance, right? Like it's not going to be like individual people like us. It will most likely be fully automated robotic like ecosystems, right? So like truly like there is a very interesting concept that is happening in there. There is a ton of other companies. There is one that is Bat AI based in San Francisco, based in the Bay Area. Reinforce Labs. They changed the name. They're doing red team AI agents, and they've been doing a fantastic job. Two ex-Google guys, really smart PhDs. I'm very passionate. There's plenty of other companies out there. There's like Strawberry Browser. Look at Strawberry Browser. I don't know if you've met them. From Sweden, Charles and the team are like amazing. They built an agentic browser that is like super good and super cool. I use it all the time to actually be able to like do a lot of research. When I'm actually researching competitors or other VCs or like investments, then essentially you just like interact with the agent, and then the agent does a lot of stuff for you. It's absolutely, it's amazing.
What are the key criteria for you if you scan through investment candidates? Like we hear a lot about the team background, right? Are there any others, especially in the AI age, that you think are critical?
I only back technical founders. Like at least one of the founders needs to be extremely technical, extremely smart. I think there's been a big change, and there will likely be another change like very soon, where back in like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you would still have like MBA students like raising seed rounds with no one that was like technical, could be building a product, and then investors were like giving them money, like, oh, you come from, I don't know, like BCG and you did your MBA and whatever, and you have like another 2 founders. Awesome, we'll give you money, right? That those days are fully gone. Like these days, like it's all about like you need to have very strong technical foundational team members and founders. But I also think that like that is going to be evolving very soon in the next 18 months or so, and 24 months. If the technical side has been mostly solved with AI agents that are like your engineer's copilot with vibe coding and all of that stuff, then what ends up happening is like we will start emphasizing a lot more like more business go-to-market execution folks, right? And of course, like you will still need some technical co-founding team. So there is like all of these like waves that come and go until we have a new massive breakthrough in terms of technology that very likely will essentially push more technical founders again, right? So like it's kind of fluctuating a lot.
Great. Yeah, that's fascinating to see. There's a lot that's going to change in the next, I don't know, year or two, right? Also when it comes to venture investing. Let's switch gears a bit and we'd like to hear how you met Marty and the ElevenLabs founder team. What is the origin story behind it? And how did you turn into an operator coming from an angel investor, now leading the go-to-market efforts?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, I get a message from one of my friends. We used to work together, Paolo, like wonderful guy. Get a message from him. I think it was like February 2023. I can search it on WhatsApp. February 2023 or like early March 2022. February 2022, early March 2022. And then he messaged me with like, oh, I have this friend. We used to work together at BlackRock. He's building something around AI voices. You've been doing AI voices in the previous company. Like, you should meet him. And that was as simple as that. And he connected me to Matty. Matty was still a Palantir. And then we started talking. There was no product. There was absolutely nothing. Peter had already left like Google. He was building on concepts, on research and all of that stuff. But like, Matty pitched me the idea of what if you have AI voices that can do dubs for content creation? But that was pretty much it. And I loved it. I loved it because I was coming from the background of like go to market, building a company that essentially was like doing AI voices with like an older technology. And when the company got acquired by Spotify to build the AI DJ, so we pitched them the idea of like, what if you have a voice that actually like talks to your music and everything, and then they're buying for the AI DJ. So I knew the space very well, and then hearing Matty pitch, it was fascinating, and I immediately told him like, I'm in. Like, how much money do you want? Then I will introduce to my friends. So we ended up like doing the first round, the pre-seed round, and it was great, absolutely fantastic. And then I kept helping Matty on a number of stuff. We did the round in July 2022. So kept helping Matty a number of things. Matty invited me to an offsite, the first ever offsite that we did in as a company in Portugal, in one of our investors' houses. And then we started talking about like joining ElevenLabs and all of that stuff, and like we ended up materializing it a few months later. And yeah, I mean, it's been a fantastic ride.
And Carles, for those who don't know yet about ElevenLabs, can you briefly explain what it does? And maybe you can use your top 3 use cases to really illustrate what's ElevenLabs all about.
Yeah, so ElevenLabs is all about like we build AI audio platform, right? An AI audio platform that comprises on like AI voices, AI sounds, AI music very soon. That essentially you can mix and match to create a number of things, whether that is content creation for videos, for like marketing side, to dub movies, like anything that is like for gaming, for like news content, all of that stuff, like podcast and all of that piece. But also you can use for real-time interactions as well. So we've evolved from foundational models only to like full end-to-end products, with one of them being like AI voice conversational AI voice, right? Where you can deploy an AI agent that interacts with its voice with customers and solves either queries, or like can be used for gaming, can be used for anything you can imagine. And just to give you a few examples, like our technology is used by Twilio. It's used by Epic Games that essentially implemented in Fortnite. So in the Fortnite game, you can now interact with Darth Vader with your own voice, and then Darth Vader replies to you. So that is like co-built between like Epic Games and ElevenLabs. We'll be working very actively with Deutsche Telekom. Like we announced earlier this year during Mobile World Congress, this new like the AI phone that is also going to be having like ElevenLabs integrated in it for a number of things. We've grown very, very quickly in a number of areas, but I would summarize it being like there is a portion of content creation, right, and media and entertainment if you want, and there is another portion that is real-time interaction for customer support or real-time customer interactions.
And, besides businesses, right, let's say the majority of your customers, how do they use ElevenLabs? For example, obviously the introduction to this podcast was made using ElevenLabs, but I can imagine that there's a lot of people that are just curious, right? So how do normal people interact with ElevenLabs?
It's like we have like hundreds and hundreds of different use cases and different ways. I would say like the most common ones, like content creators that will use it to create like marketing content, like videos for internal companies to actually like dub their own content, create podcasts and so on. So that's a very large bucket. There is another very large bucket, fundamentally, that's like customer support, right? So I can come as a business, I can feed it the documentation of my own like FAQs, how my products work, pricing, all of those things. And then literally, we can automate all of that support experience, right? So for instance, and to give you an idea, we automated an AI agent with voice and now also text, because it does both elements, that literally like automated 83% of our like technical support interactions overnight. So we were getting a very large number of support interactions, technical queries. How is the work, like WebSocket operating? How do I configure this? How do I reduce latency? All of those items. And then so we trained an agent in a few minutes to answer those questions, and then implemented it. 83% of the tickets were gone straight away, right? So those are like some of the most common use cases, if you want.
On a more fundamental level, Carles, voice is the most natural interface for communication. Can you help us understand a bit what the role of voice in making AI more accessible for everyone and solving real world problems looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I'm very passionate about that, and as a company, like it's our number one problem, right? At the end of the day, like you said it, like voice is the most natural, and if you want, even the most traditional form of communication. As humans, we've been talking to each other for the past like 50,000 years, and technology wasn't really good at replicating how we talk. So our number one goal initially was, how do we recreate voices to make them sound human and engaging, that people can feel emotionally connected to them. And that's what we spent 9 months, and then we continued that research. It's at the core of everything that we do. Like we've never, like we care about voice. I do believe very strongly that like voice is a platform by itself. If you look at the past like years, we had number of platforms that have been built, but it's very limited, right? Like, so you had radio that became a platform and a massive multi-billion-dollar industry, or even trillion-dollar if you wanted, like globally and all that stuff. Then it transitioned toward like TV and radio, TV stations. Then we had like a new one, which like, but that was visual, right? Like we had then the new migration, which was fundamentally the new vector, which were like internet together with like laptops or computers, right? Still very visual in nature. If you wanted, everything is like kind of visual interactions. And then the next iteration of it was 15 years ago. So with smartphones, but again, like very visual, right? Like there hadn't been a really good way of actually like making voice as a platform because it was just not high quality enough. Now everything, this is a platform where you can automate and create a ton of experiences, whether that is like call center support, or that is like personalized education, or that is like whatever you can imagine. And because it's the most natural way of doing it, then like the adoption rate, both on the enterprise side and the consumer side, has been like absolutely stellar. One thing that we run, for instance, is what we call the impact program, where people that have lost their voices can recreate them using like some like seconds or minutes of audio from when they had a voice. So we can recreate the voice fairly quickly. And then we give them free access to ElevenLabs so that they can use it for their normal day to day. So imagine ALS patients or people that lost their voice due to throat cancer or like anything you can imagine, right? Those people can start interacting with their own voice again. And it's actually quite unique in general.
And I think in general, if you look at today, we are using ChatGPT or others for chat, right? And there's still some friction in it because you need to type into a window, you need to wait and see and get a response. Now with this real-time voice that OpenAI, for example, launched, it's a magical experience. It's a true personal companion, right? So I think it changes the whole game also for the latest and greatest in AI technology, right? So I think this is super exciting to see how voice becomes like a lever to adopt AI for like the mass market consumer.
Correct. And then it goes even further, right? Because like we have still some level of illiteracy rates in the world, unfortunately, right? Like, and we live in 21st century, we live like in like 2025, like still there's a very large number of people in the world that cannot read. Can we actually upskill them without being able to read? Up until now, it's been very tough. Like you could now have a voice that talks to you, an AI agent that talks to you and tells you about maths, and tells you about like anything you can imagine, right? That is your companion that helps you like read and understand. That is something that is a big breakthrough in general when you think about it, right? So for me, like that's the uniqueness of voice that like you don't have anywhere else in any other segment.
And are there already some maybe schools or even ElevenLabs? Do you have some programs maybe that enable literacy in a way or another?
Unfortunately, no. We've tried. There's some things that we're running in the background. So one of my colleagues, Sophia, she's running all of the impact programs. She's been a fantastic job on that end. But it's tough, right? Like we've offered our technology multiple times to the UN. There's all of the politics linked to all of this. So you know, it becomes like UNESCO, all of those guys. We had intense conversation like 2 years ago. Then they dropped it because like AI voices like are gonna be taking people away, like jobs away. Like So there was all of this policy, and for us, like, we're like, we don't want to charge you anything. We don't care about that stuff. Like, there is a component of our business is about making money, and there's another component that is about like having a social return, right? Having an impact. And all of the other ones, all the big corporations pay for that social impact, right? Because like we actually fund it from our own, like the money that we charge them, and also like from our own money. Still, it was difficult. They didn't want it at that point in time. And still, like, those companies have never progressed like any further.
Oh, right. That's interesting. Know that there is this sort of like resistance to technology, right? That is actually preventing some very good developments for humanity at the end, right? Which is what you and UNESCO are supposed to, UNICEF, I can imagine also, right? So they should be promoting any sort of solution, right? Especially if they can be free.
Yeah. Agree, and we're more than happy to provide it. Like, again, it's more of a giving back to the world, something that everyone can use, and of actually making money out of it. But we work with universities, we work with schools, we work like with a number of things, like, but it's not the same, right? Like, fundamentally, because like everyone had like different varieties. Like for us, like, and of course, like, it's different if you work in the like in like economies like the US or in Europe, or like fundamentally, like, it's very different. If you work with emerging economies, then it's a completely different set of problems, right? So like, how do you balance it? Like, it's difficult for us to do it on our own. We would love to actually partner with someone that actually has a lot of expertise and can actually take it even further. Who best to actually do it than the UN? Then that's like ideal scenario for sure.
That's a big vision. Yeah, I like that. One item that I have to address, Carles, since I'm a user since day one, is the ElevenReader app. And this is one of my top 3 productivity apps to quickly upload articles or links and get an idea within 10 minutes what this article, like long form article, is all about. For the audience, it's a free tool. Everyone can use it. Can you explain a bit more like what it can do for the users and what the benefits are to use it?
Yeah, 100%. It's like, I love the Reader app. I use it all the time. It's like, fundamentally, it's this concept of like, you are constantly like reading stuff, right? But like, reading is not great if you're on the walk, like if you're walking, or if you're going to the gym, or if you're doing like, like preparing some food, all of that stuff. So you can actually like ingest an article, a PDF, like a book, anything you would want, and then we essentially voice it. We have the feature of like voicing the full content, and then we also have the feature of like creating kind of podcast style elements, right? And it's great because then in that podcast style, like in a very short time frame, you get a full idea of like what the entire book was about, or the entire article, and things like that. We're now also loading additional content. So we've done some licensing deals with a number of companies. Like, we're filling their platform, the Reader app, with a lot more content so that you can consume a lot without having to bring content on your own if you don't want to.
And Carles, I need to be a little bit of the devil's advocate, right? Because here we're saying too many good things about ElevenLabs, right? Which, I mean, I think it's great because we've just discovered actually how we could potentially solve illiteracy, give a voice to people who lost it, right? But there is also a big elephant in the room, right? Which is the fact that, we're basically replicating human voice, and some people are not nice, so they're actually using it to scam other people and to create very elaborate, scams that are at the expenses of normal people, right? So what does ElevenLabs do in order to mitigate this risk a little bit and to protect people from voice scams?
Yeah, and I think it's a very fair point. Like we're seeing a very like growing industry around like deep fakes and that concept of like fraud, right? I think like the way we've tackled it since day one, and we constantly keep investing. We have a dedicated team that is like headed by like Artemis, based in the Bay Area. She's like super good at her job, and the team is like really, really strong. And we keep investing a lot in resources and external tooling, internal tooling, and all that stuff. We from day one, we've had what we call fingerprinting or voice, a way like that we know essentially if content was generated with ElevenLabs, and it's also publicly available. So this is like AI classifier where you can upload a clip, and then you go to the website, upload the clip, and it will tell you with a percentage like the like if it was created by ElevenLabs or not, right? So that's number one. So we can always trace it back to a specific user in a specific location related to a specific like credit card that was used initially to create that content. So everything is actually like matched in there. So that's one side. The second side is we have voice capture. So if you're cloning voice at the highest quality level, which is like literally 99.9% accuracy, then you need to comply with a voice capture. So you upload data, let's say 5 minutes worth of my voice, and then you get on the screen a text, and that text is dynamic. So it's a capture. You need to actually talk about like say that specific text, and then automatically we compare if your voice that you're saying that text matches with the original data that you uploaded. If it doesn't, we tell you like, sorry, like you don't have access to this voice, you cannot clone it, get in touch with our team. If it matches, then we'll tell you, great, matched, we will start cloning it, and then within a few minutes you get it available, right? That's another one. The third component is like we have live moderation. So we have an algorithm that is constantly scanning what is being generated. And if there is anything that is like flagged as a potential like risk, then there is a human team that also like reviews those components. And if we need to block accounts, if we need to actually like notify the user like to ask for more information, like all of those things actually happen like on a daily basis as well. And there's a number of other pieces, right? But I've always thought like in practice, like we're always we're one step behind or 2 steps behind, because anyone that wants to commit fraud, for me, this is kind of fraud, right? You're always like going against fraud, and you're always going to be like 1 or 2 steps behind fraudster. But that doesn't mean that we should not be investing millions, and we're investing millions on fraud or safety. But it's a tough topic.
Absolutely. The question is for me, what can like everyday users, how can they protect themselves, right? Do you have any practical advice? Because it's super hard. We will see that also in our game in the next few minutes. It's super hard to distinguish between what is real and what is fake even today, right? What is some practical advice how users can protect themselves when they have a hunch that this might not be Aunt Meredith?
I think like the best way is like fundamentally like try to like find before you do anything, like find out whether this is real or not. So if it's voice, like go to the ElevenLabs website. We do a very large like portion of the market of voice generation, but of course there could be open source tools that fraudsters mostly use to create like impersonations, right? Like they will not come to ElevenLabs just because like we can trace it back. They would use open source tooling. So like if you're unsure, like just take a step back, try to find out exactly, and then also like of course like report it to the authorities if needed, right? That's the best way of doing it. There is the positive side of all of this too, which is we have a voice marketplace. So in that voice marketplace, like people that voluntarily put their own voices. My wife put her own voice on the marketplace, and then every week she gets a transfer based on how much content was generated from her voice, right? So like her like weekly earnings are somewhere around like, I don't know, like $70 to like $120 or $130 on a weekly basis, which is actually not bad. And we have actors that like, or people that like make absolute fortunes, and they fully deserve it because they have like unbelievably good voices, right? So it depends.
Also, I didn't know about the marketplace, so I have a new business idea here. Johannes, maybe we can, marketplace, market our voices, right? So let's see.
It's great. Like you don't get a pay raise from your boss. Great. Just go to the marketplace, put your voice. That's your pay raise. You can now go and enjoy life in the Bahamas.
Well, let's see if we make it to the Bahamas. But I like this positive note, for the last part of this section, which is, obviously, AI voice generation is really changing everything, right? In terms of how we do things, how we interact, and so on. So let's imagine that the next generation of people grows up hearing a voice that is shaped by ElevenLabs. What do you hope it teaches them?
I just hope that they can use it to actually like learn new things, like interact with the real world, learn new things, and then make their life much easier. That's my only hope. Because then essentially we'll have fulfilled what we wanted, which is like make voice a platform by itself. Hopefully it's with ElevenLabs, but if it's like some of those like voices that you hear are not ElevenLabs, I'm gonna be grumpy, but like I'm still gonna be happy.
Great. All right. So I would say for this last part, Johannes, should we get into our little game?
Oh yeah, let's get into it.
All right. So, Carles, we always like to finish with a little game. And of course, because you are from ElevenLab, today we prepared a little game which is called AI Voice or Not. All right, Carlos. So for this game, of course, your job is going to be to identify if the voices we put in this video are AI generated or not. We prepared 5 different voices and well, let's see how many points you make. So are you ready?
Super, let's do it. Yes.
Perfect.
In the darkest corner of the zoo, there stood a gloomy shack. A nearby scrawl read, "Keep out, all!"
So, AI voice or not?
That was tough, man. That is a tough one. That is not a boy, an AI voice. No,
So it's
it's human. It's human.
Let's see. No, you're right. It's actually a real person. She's Kristen Bell. She's an actress, and she was reading a little story actually for kids. So 1 out of 5. So very good.
That was really difficult, yeah.
That was really difficult. Yes, yes.
This time, so we're trying to make the games more and more difficult. So let's see if we managed.
Okay, let's go.
All right. Next one.
This being human is a guest house.
AI voice or not?
This is an AI voice.
Hmm. Actually, it is also a real voice. She's Helena Bonham Carter, also another actress, but this time with a bit more of a British accent. So I was hoping we would trick you with this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's even harder to guess if it's just a few seconds, right? So
Yes.
Exactly.
difficult
So
one.
the
Are you ready
first-
for the next one?
Yes. Let's go. This one. I have a good feeling about the next one.
Very good. We are 1-1 for now, huh? So let's see.
She walks in beauty, like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies.
AI.
It was actually created using ElevenLabs. So I guess Johannes, he has the ear trainer for that.
And I think this is one of the more known voices, at least on the Reader app, right? So that wasn't probably an easy one, but I'm not sure, Carlos, if you've studied the entire voice marketplace.
Actually, it is not from the marketplace. I created this voice. It was created. So maybe you have to work on that, huh?
It's funny. It's funny how my experience with Instagram and TikTok is like fully ruined. Like because like I go to TikTok, I go into Instagram, like I only hear adverts that it, like have ElevenLabs voices. So I'm like, no, I keep hearing ElevenLabs all the time. Like if I look at what's at Instagram or like TikTok, I don't want to be hearing more voices. But yeah, they're there. So
Yeah. No, but this one was specifically created for this game. So, but apparently sounds like the other ones. So we need to work on that, huh? So let's see the next one.
2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler.
AI.
And this was also AI. Also ElevenLabs. Also this one, to be fair, like specifically generated. And that is also where I learned one of the other features you have to protect people, right, from being stolen their voice. Because for those of you listening, whenever you try to generate a voice, you cannot give a specific name, right? So I really wanted to make it sound like a specific actress. But yeah, I could not do that. So a great job on that one. All right. So what do we have? 3-1, I think. Oh, very good. So let's see the last one then.
There is always a question within my team. Are we different or they are?
Oh, that's difficult.
Ooh. I think this is real.
Based on?
I don't know, like the mistake that he made in there. I don't know, like I don't know. I think it's real, but it's a tough one, huh?
All right. So let's see. It is real. It is actually tennis player Alexander Bublik, one of his recent interviews after Roland Garros. So yes, indeed, this one I hoped it would be a little bit tough, but it seems like AI, after all, cannot really replicate humans just yet, huh? So there is still a way to differentiate a little bit.
Carles, let's revisit that in like half a year or so where we are on the technology. We'll play the same game and then see how you perform.
Well,
Let's do it. Because this time again you won 4-1, so that's was too easy.
Nice. I'm like, am I in the top of the people that come through the podcast, and am I winning, or I'm like bad performer? How is that going?
So
Yeah,
you
I
need
think
to start a
it's
leaderboard, Lucia.
True that. I think for now, like there was someone else who did 4-1 as well. So top of the leaderboard.
I'm still not winning. Okay.
Well, we're getting there. But Carles, thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, to all of you listening, thank you so much for making it this far. If you did make it this far, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you have any ideas, feedback, or you just want to say hi, make sure to leave us a comment so we can reach more people and share all knowledge about AI. Everyone, thank you so much. See you in the next episode.
Don't forget to subscribe to the AI to Go podcast.